Hello and welcome to today's review of the all-new SUV of BMW M, the XM, the first standalone M car since the M1. And according to BMW's press release, it exudes emotional potency beyond traditional norms and conventions. Well, BMW's poets have outdone themselves, but have the designers. They've certainly pushed the envelope lately, especially with their niche products. The iconic kidneys are squashed wide and flat in the Z4, whilst being stretched tall in the M4, and the latest M2 is boxier than the 80s. Designs you can only love or hate, there's not much in between. I can only applaud variation within a product lineup and much prefer it over the photocopier approach of, for instance, Mercedes-Benz. But there is a challenge in making something unconventional. It's cool if a design really is special, but it's uncool if it's trying too hard. And I have to say, my first impression of the XM is that the designers have pushed it too far with lots of noisy pieces of trim on an otherwise basic SUV. Or is there more to it? They say they've built it from the ground up, so let's have a look around. We'll start by looking at the side and put this model into perspective of its siblings, the X5 and X7. On the top we have the slightly smaller and more rounded and plump X5. At the bottom the X7, which is about as big as the XM, but with the dynamics of a brick. The XM clearly has a bit more sports car appeal than its siblings, thanks to a long wheelbase and hood, visually separated bottom section, sloped roofline and smaller glass surface. The gold trim on the side is truly unconventional as it's positioned underneath the window line. It has a big impact on the overall design, as from this low perspective it makes it look dynamic and gives it a lowish silhouette. Also from the rear quarter view it looks like the car is being catapulted forwards. Unfortunately, from a higher perspective it doesn't always work so well. Depending on the light it may have the adverse effect of looking tall, as if the window surface is actually a lot bigger than it is. It then looks quite similar to the poor proportions of an X1. And in almost any light it makes the hood look bloated, as it comes out so high above that trim line. So if you're the kind of person who spends their days lying on the pavement, you'll find it a striking design element. Otherwise you may not be so impressed by it. Lastly, what stands out from the side view is that underbody, which is quite boxy and gives it a nice robust look. It's an interesting combination with its low silhouette when seen from the right angles. Over to the front then, where the golden LED grille frame catches the eye first. Let's face it, we all knew this type of LED displays were coming. Some find it too kitschy, but it really isn't too different from the usual chrome trim. It just happens to work at night as well. The kidneys are large, which could have clicked well actually, with the boxy appeal we've seen on the side. However, they should have then kept the hood cleaner, without these sharp facets coming from the grille. It looks like it came straight off an M4, and it doesn't fit with this car. A lower hood with creases coming from the far corners could have kept it more in line with the side view. Further down things get messy with the angled glossy black plastics around the grille that make the car look asymmetrical. Due to the light refraction, one side often appears to have a different color from the other. And further down they should have gone for a wider grille undersection to make it look broader and boxier. The car's nose now looks too tall, almost like a pickup truck, and it feels out of sync with the lower side silhouette. Headlights aren't really an area of differentiation in any design era, and it's no different today. This setup has also been seen on the 7 Series, but it's actually been in use for years by mainstream brands like Hyundai or Citroën. BMW is now making it premium by putting it on the top range models, so we can expect to see this trickle down to the entire product range. At the rear they've made the mistake many people make when they tuned their first Golf. They took off the badge, and it now feels like a bit of a void. It was better with the concept car actually, when they let the light units run just slightly further inwards, and the void is gone. The badge isn't completely gone, it actually sits at the sides there at the top, as a reference to the old M1. I think the top half of the rear is alright, but as often the case with SUVs, they then ran out of ideas. They even gave it a thick love handle here, and then followed today's convention by giving it a big pair of underpants, pulling the plastic underside too far up. At a loss completely when arriving at the bottom, they've stacked the exhaust vertically and pretty far inward, again going against what could have been a low riding look. So after going around, do I think this is special or trying too hard with lots of gimmicks? Well, it would have been special without those design gimmicks. It's nice to see a super SUV with a boxy yet lowish styling from the side. But the design is too dependent on the viewpoint in order to work. The hood is too inflated, and the design lost strength with unnecessary gimmickry like the hood creases, the angled bumper sections, the rear love handle, and parts that make it look tall. So even though the basis of the design is nice and unconventional, the negatives drag the score down to a 6.3. A cleaner design would have worked much better without losing its emotional potency. Do you want to see what it looks like when it's cleaned up? Let me know in the comments below. If there's enough demand, I'll make a render and touch it up. Please hit the like button if you like this video and subscribe to stay tuned for future design fixes.